The Suzuki GSX-8R, everyone. Welcome back to another video on this wicked motorcycle. Today's video is all thanks to Fraser's Motorcycles. If you live in the Gloucester area or surrounding counties here in the UK, please go and check them out. They've got a huge showroom with plenty of stock available, new and used, and plenty of demos for you to test ride, just like this one right now. So I'd really appreciate it if you could take a look at what they offer, and when you do, don't forget to say hello from me. Now, this bike here could be one of the best parallel twins right now. There's a couple of outliers which I have not had the opportunity to ride yet, unfortunately. But at this point, pretty much any parallel twin that's between like a 650 all the way up to this, which is like a 780-ish cc bike, I've pretty much ridden. And honestly, like, the way how parallel twins have been developing over the last few years is very impressive for me. The amount that they're able to push out of these smaller engines is crazy. You're not just getting torque anymore of these things, you're also getting top-end horsepower. It's the case with this, and it's also the case with Aprilia's RS660 and Tuono 660. These bikes, their engines are absolutely incredible. So today, well, we're going to jump on the bike, we're going to go for a ride, and we're going to see which one is best. It's funny, isn't it? I know that some people, they are not into parallel twins, but if you haven't ridden one for a while, I would definitely encourage you to check them out. Check out what's available at the moment, and maybe go on some test rides, because they may surprise you. I mean, one of the benefits to a parallel twin is how beginner friendly they are. So, I mean, maybe if you're an advanced level rider, maybe this isn't something that would interest you. Maybe you prefer like a V-twin, or I don't know, a triple, or an inline 4, something like that. But this bike has honestly been very surprising to me in terms of how much fun factor you're getting for quite a rudimentary engine. You know, this isn't the fanciest motorcycle in the world, but it really does put a smile on your face. And when you think about it, that's all that really matters. Everything else is just a bonus. And this bike's got plenty of bonuses as well, by the way. I mean, that TFT dash, just one example. And if you want a bit more of an in-depth look at this bike, then definitely go and check out our ride review. It should be out already. Yeah, we take a look at the specs and we do a bit of a deep dive on the bike and what it feels like. You know, what does the spec sheet say in comparison to the real world riding experience? If that's the kind of video you're looking for, then yeah, definitely go and check that one out. But this is one of those videos where, you know, I've been riding the bike for about an hour and I've got to know it a little bit better. And what I find amazing about parallel twins is, one, how similar they all are, but also how different they all are. It's quite incredible. You've got the same formula, but they all ride, in some cases, not that differently to one another, but then in other cases, very differently to one another. Like a characteristic of parallel twins, at least traditionally anyway, is that they don't have any top-end horsepower. So yeah, they might redline to 10,000, 11,000 RPM, but there's no point getting up that far because the bike power just drops off the edge of a cliff once you get past 8,000 RPM. And that is the case with the R7 or the MT-07. That's also the case with the Ninja 650 and the Z650. But that's not the case with this. And it's not the case with the Aprilia RS660, which is insane how they're able to deliver torque and horsepower out of these engines, because they're big thumping engines. You know, like when you think about parallel twins, you think about single cylinders and how, like, once they reach their power band, again, they drop off like a stone. They haven't really got a lot of power behind them. They got sometimes they have a nice amount of torque down low, but then it drops off. Then they hit the power band of the rev range, and it drops off again. You kind of expect a parallel twin to act in a very similar way, but no. Surprisingly enough, you guys, this bike does not run out of power at any point. in the RPM range, which is awesome. And it's the same with the RS660. But this is one of the things that I think, unfortunately, that's the impression that a lot of riders have of parallel twins, where, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like great bang for buck. And I kind of understand that argument in some respects, but at the same time, I don't want you to miss out if you are in the market for a new bike. And you're looking for something that's easier to ride, something that, I don't know, it's still fun whenever you want it to, you know, it can still play as hard as you want it to play. But on those days where you're just looking to get to work, you're just looking for a commute, the bike can deliver on that front as well. And that's the thing, it's such a versatile bike, this. It rides exactly like a naked, but a naked with fairing. You know, I mean, that's probably the biggest difference between this and the RS660, is that even though the RS660, again, is one of those engines that's producing torque and horsepower, and lots of it, it's got a far more aggressive riding position. This bike isn't trying to be a sport bike. It does resemble more of a naked with fairing, if you know what I mean, in terms of the seating position, the ergonomics, the way the bike feels to ride. It feels like a naked to ride, to me. And that's by no means a bad thing. I absolutely love riding nakeds. I mean, I have a few at home. I've owned a few. So, yeah, it's just different in that regard, where Aprilia, they're trying to sell a super sport that isn't really a super sport. But again, that's no shade being thrown to the RS660 either. That's an amazing bike in its own right, and especially if you're looking at a super sport, you might be pleasantly surprised at how great that bike is, even though it's just a parallel twin. You know, it does feel more in line with like a 900, to be honest, in terms of how it's delivering power. It's crazy. But this isn't trying to be that. This is trying to be a parallel twin commuter bike. It's not trying to be an enthusiast bike, although an enthusiast could probably ride this and still appreciate it for what it is. They can still have a lot of fun. They can still, yeah, just thoroughly appreciate and thoroughly enjoy it. I know, it's got that low end, that grunt. I mean, that's in third gear, you guys, man. And he just wants to go. It's great. Whoa. Awesome. Absolutely awesome. But, yeah, this is the thing. I said this a lot about parallel twins, where you really shouldn't overlook them. Mid to advanced level riders, you really shouldn't overlook a lot of these parallel twins. I understand that they might not be the right flavor for everybody, but, and that's the same for me, you guys. You know, my preferred bike is a parallel, is an inline 4 rather, or a triple. Those are the bikes that I absolutely love to ride. But these parallel twins, they constantly surprise me. It might be because my first big bike was a Kawasaki ER6, basically a Ninja 650 today, and I love that bike. It was rock solid, and arguably, in some respects, that ER6 was better than what the Ninja 650 is offering today. And I seriously think it's because of emissions and things like that, where some of these manufacturers, they aren't able to get the top end horsepower that they used to because of those emission standards. Whereas back in the mid 2000s, when I was riding my ER6, I guess they didn't need to worry about that because it was producing more top end horsepower. But the amazing thing is about the Ninja 650 today is that it still feels incredibly quick, even though I know it isn't. And it does drop off like a stone, drop off like a cliff rather, when you're in those top end RPMs, which the ER6, it never really suffered from that problem. So, yeah, I do have a soft spot for parallel twins, I suppose. But one bike that I've not ridden yet, which I think could be quite a competitive bike to this and the RS660 or the Tuono 660, is the Duke. The KTM Duke. Is it the 790? I think they might have a newer model now. It might be an 890. I can't remember. But that's a parallel twin, a big thumping parallel twin. Shares a lot in common with a bike like this. And I think, again, it's more of a enthusiast level bike, you know, than this is. But I'm really curious where that stacks up in terms of the overall riding experience, the performance, and how the bike feels from a, you know, from a rider's perspective. Yeah, that's one outlier that I think could be the best in this class. Seriously, it could be. But right now, in terms of right now, is this the best bike in this class? A big parallel twin? No, I don't think so. Maybe not for the reasons that you're expecting either. But, see, this bike is ultra fun, a lot of power, a lot of performance, and it's very good. You know, that's not what I'm trying to say here. It's very, very good. I'm not trying to say that it's a bad bike whatsoever. But if you're looking at a parallel twin and you're looking at the best that you can buy right now, it's got to be the Tuono 660 or the RS 660. Those are enthusiast level bikes, and even though it's got like 100 less cc displacement than this, it goes, man. That's, I think, the quickest parallel twin I've ever ridden. But it doesn't just feel fast, it is fast. You get bikes like this and like the Ninja 650 that feel fast, but actually they're not that fast at all. Like our 0 to 60 is probably prove that. I mean, they're still quick bikes. You know, you're looking at 3.5 to 4 seconds for a 0 to 60. They're still quick bikes, but they got nothing on the RS 660 and the Tuono 660. They're crazy fast. And like I said, enthusiast level bikes. I think when you're looking at a big parallel twin, the RS and the Aprilia 660 has got to be the best in class. Alright, hello Popo. Got to be the best in class for sure. But this is a close second. I think it's got to be a close second. I mean, it's got so much of what the RS 660 and the Tuono 660 are offering. It's just those extra little features. The cruise control, the adjustable suspension. Arguably it's got a nicer dashboard as well. The riding position on the Tuono and the RS 660 arguably is a little bit more enthusiast as well. This bike does not scream enthusiast. This bike screams commuter street bike. And don't get me wrong, that's the same with the Tuono and the RS 660. They are also street bikes, but they're enthusiast street bikes. There is a difference there, and unfortunately, the only way you're going to understand really what I'm talking about is if you go and ride them yourself, and then you'll understand what I mean. The thing that this bike, I have no doubt, is beating the RS and the Tuono 660 here. It's got to be reliability. This is one of those bikes that you shouldn't have any issues with whatsoever. Full stop. You know, no matter how old it is, you really shouldn't experience any mechanical failures, any weird cosmetic issues like fairing falling off, or the grips tearing apart. You shouldn't have any of that with a bike like this. But then again, I mean, that RS 660, that Tuono 660, I mean, it's been going for a while now, and I've not heard of many reliability issues with those bikes either. But Suzuki, they've got the pedigree. You know, they've got that experience, they've got that history of making reliable bikes. So, I mean, that might not be the case these days, I don't know, according to recent studies, but nonetheless, yeah, pretty I think that's how a lot of people are going to feel anyway. They're going to feel more confident in a bike like this than something of Italian origin. Woohoo! See what I mean? It's just not lacking in power whatsoever. And because it's got that parallel twin, that big stroke, you're probably going to get some pretty decent fuel economy as well out of this bike. It's got quite a small tank. I think it's only 14-litre fuel tank, but you should still be able to get a pretty decent fuel economy out of this bike and quite a lot of mileage out of it before you need to fill up. So yeah, this bike, it ticks a lot of boxes, you guys. Yeah, a lot of boxes. It's fantastic. It really is a fantastic bike, but it's not an enthusiast bike. I think that's the only point at which really differentiates it from other bikes. And you know, I think that's the issue with most of these parallel twins. They have an issue with that identity. So they're trying to look like a sport bike, but they're not really a super sport. It's not like an RS660, which is a proper super sport with a parallel twin-cylinder engine. It's not like that. The R7 suffers from the same problem, where it's an aggressive seating position, but that MT-07 engine, that parallel twin engine, it doesn't feel like it's suited for that bike. Whereas on this, Suzuki have built this bike from the ground up with this engine in mind. And it makes sense, it works on a bike like this. Same with the Ninja 650 and the Z650. Those engines were designed with those bikes in mind. Were designed from the ground up. They didn't just have an engine shoved into them that came from something else. I mean, you do see that an awful lot, but when it comes to parallel twins, it makes sense when it's built for the bike. You know what I mean? I hope you guys understand what I mean, but this isn't an enthusiast level bike. This is a bike where it's fun and it's great in so many ways, but it's not an enthusiast riding experience. Like the GSX S1000, that's an enthusiast bike. The MT-09, an enthusiast bike. Oh, the nuances of these things, you guys, are mad. I could talk about this stuff all day, every day, and there'd still be a lot more to talk about. But thank you ever so much for joining us on our video today. That's the thing, all these bikes that I've been describing in today's video are absolutely fantastic in their own right. It's the nuances that make the difference between one being good and one being great. This is a great bike, but it's not quite as great as the RS660. Which sounds insane because it's got a load more displacement, and it shows it. You're getting so much power, so much torque, so much performance, but it just doesn't have that enthusiast spice. Thanks again everyone for joining us today. If you enjoyed this video, if you've learned something, or maybe it's encouraged you to buy one of these bikes, then please go ahead, leave that like, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss any more videos from us, any more ride reviews from us. And again, don't forget to check out our ride review on this bike as well, where we do that in-depth look and compare the specs to the real-world riding experience. I really appreciate it. And don't forget as well to check out Fraser's Motorcycles. But thanks again everyone. You guys, you take care, you ride safe. We'll catch you all in the next video. Have a good one.